Why do you hate homemaking so much? Is a question I was recently asked by a close friend while I was confiding in them and talking a little bit about some struggles and things that I've been feeling about homemaking. And I thought we would just talk about it today. Little thoughts and yaps on homemaking, as well as take you along for preparing for my Galentine's Day that I'm having the next day. And I thought it would be fun to bring you along. If you're new here, my name is Noelle. I do all kind of homemaking content as well as thrifting, cooking, baking, a little bit of motherhood sprinkled in there as well. And if you're not new, hello to all my lovely viewers that just keep on returning and supporting me. I so appreciate you all. Anyway, I am going to be popping in, popping out, telling you what I'm doing on screen, as well as just going on some, yaps while just talking to you guys as well. Out the day with this lovely Valentine's book that is so cute. I think it's called The Valentine's Bears by Jan Barrett is the illustrator. And I'm not sure who the author is, but I swear they just don't make children books as cute as they used to. I love the illustrations and all the detail that goes in it. Then we did homeschool. Well, I guess reading was a part of our homeschool because we always read books usually to start out the morning. And then we played a game of Candyland. I took out some things out of the freezer to thaw, to handle in a little bit, but I want them to thaw out on the counter for a while. The first thing we're going to do is get some cookie dough ready. This one is so fun. These are my sliced sugar cookies. They are delicious. And of course, you guessed it, they're going to have hearts in the middle. A millennial or a Gen Z, they even have them now. They're the Pillsbury cookies that have little designs in them. Well, that's exactly what these are, but just homemade. They are so cute and they taste really good as well. And they're not too sugary like the ones from the store. I went ahead, I rolled out some sugar cookie dough. I used the food coloring Merlot by Color Mill, which is such a beautiful dark red color. I absolutely love it, and it does not have any artificial dyes like Red Dye 40 or Lake 40, whatever you want to call it. It is not toxic, and they actually use pigments, which is really nice. So I really like Color Mill. They are an Australian brand, and I love the colors so much that they have. They're very different and unique. So you don't need too much either to make a beautiful color, which I love. And they are a gel food coloring. Beautiful. So I'm using that same food coloring throughout the whole entire day. I have a little bottle and we are going to use it up because it is Valentine Day theme, right? For the sliced cookies, I am just taking my dough that I rolled out, my beautiful red dough, and I'm going to cut out hearts and then stack them on top of each other using water. And then I went ahead and froze the dough in the freezer, my big stack of hearts. And then I went ahead and took the dough that I left out on the counter so it was still room temperature and very malleable. And I made a tube shape around the hearts and just covered them all up. And then I wrapped it up and then put it back. You could put it in the freezer or the fridge depending on how soon you want to make them. I just put it in the fridge for basically the whole day until I ended up cutting them at the end and baking off a few for the next day. But these cookies are so good. I'll leave all my recipes down below in the description. If they're my recipes, then they'll be typed out straight from my notes. And then if they're someone else's I got from Pinterest or YouTube or something, I, of course, will leave the credit and the video or wherever I got my source from. The sliced sugar cookies are so satisfying to cut. We did them for Christmas as well, and it's so much fun. We had to do it again for Valentine's Day. My kids are a huge fan of this recipe, and they were really excited to see all the beautiful hearts. They loved that. It's a really good recipe to do with kids. And again, you just put a little bit of water in between to make the hearts stick together and then freeze it and then cover it up in the normal dough. Put it in the fridge or the freezer and let it set and then cut them. And then you just bake at 350. I turned on the classics. For every holiday, my kids have really been enjoying watching Charlie Brown. So they've seen almost every single one. for all the holidays. They really like it. I put it on the little laptop for them while they hung out because my kids are always in the background while I'm doing these videos and filming. And on an everyday basis, they're always just right there, usually behind the camera, cheering me on. They are so cute. And honestly, my biggest cheerleaders, so I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, they're always around and possibly moving the camera, and filming with kids is kind of chaotic, but it's okay because we all have fun doing it. But yeah, if you don't see them on camera, they're usually just like right behind the camera hanging out. We are making a rough puff pastry dough. And so I'm just taking some flour, some butter, some cubed butter that I let sit in the freezer after I cubed it, and some ice cold water, basically making a pie dough, as well as some salt. So we are making pie dough. That's exactly what we're making, but it's also called rough puff pastry. We're gonna be making several different homemade treats that are so delicious. And again, like I said, I'll try to leave all the recipes down below. If there's something I forgot, just let me know in the comments. I am right now unwrapping some Tillamook butter. I love their butter. It is so creamy. So creamy, really good quality butter right next to the grass-fed. I prefer grass-fed butter like Kerrygold to me, which is a whole other tier of butter. But next to that would be like Tillamook. They have really good butter. Anyway, don't know how I just got on that, but I'm making a buttercream. We are going to make a chocolate buttercream, and we are going to have that beautiful Merlot color in the chocolate buttercream. A little baker's tip: if you want a darker, richer color when using buttercream, if you use it on a darker background, such as chocolate, because you're going to add that cocoa powder, it gives you a deeper, richer color, as well as if you were to add any kind of color to a darker base. Anyway, I just thought I would tell you guys that, because if you want those darker, rich colors, it's kind of how you get it. That way you don't have to apply too much coloring. But again, I will leave the color down below if you guys want to check out Color Mill. Not sponsored or anything. I just truly love their food coloring, also because it's not toxic. So yay for a really good, beautiful color that's not toxic. I think we are so here for that. I know I'm here for that for sure. I am just going to scrape down my butter and just kind of let that go and just make my buttercream. I am balancing a lot of things right now. I have a teething baby in the background of this video and children playing right at my feet. And it's just always a lot going on in a house with children. The house is so lively, it's so full, it's so loud, must I say. I am adding some homemade vanilla extract, which is such a good way to save money as well as get a really high quality in bulk vanilla extract. But if you're wondering what's in this black jar and it looks strange, that's what it is. All you do is add vanilla beans, and then you can use a clear, like vodka. You can use a vodka, or you can use like a dark alcohol like whiskey. I like to use bourbon whiskey for mine, but you can use vodka, just don't mix the two. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of milk. The cocoa powder really just absorbs any liquid that is in the buttercream, and it can just dry it out and make it kind of chalky. So adding a little bit of milk and moisture back into the buttercream really helps. And you want to make sure you sift it, because look at all of those little rock cocoa powder chunks. We don't like that. No one wants that in their buttercream. That would be so gross if you bit into that. Anyway, if you want a darker chocolate buttercream, you want to use the natural cocoa, or if you want a lighter one, you would use like the not so natural. Anyway, so we're just gonna whip this up. I ended up needing to make more after I started piping. I didn't even tell you guys what we're making. We're actually making a very chocolatey fudge cake. We're gonna do a 4-tier cake, and it's gonna be in the style like kind of vintagey, like Lambeth style cakes with some fun piping. However, there was a little bit of drama later on, I'll tell you, with that. But yeah, I have kids in the kitchen just wanting to check out this buttercream, because anything sweet, the kids just flock to. They absolutely love anything sweet, and I always have to like pull them back from eating too much, you know? Anywho, yes. So there is always so much going on when you have children and you're homemaking and doing your normal everyday stuff. Like this isn't even normal everyday stuff that I'm showing in this video. This is prepping for a little hosting situation party that we're having the next day, right? This is not an everyday thing where I'm making all of these pastries and cakes and stuff like that. That is just a today thing. And, you know, we have days like this here and there for hosting, but besides the point, on an everyday basis, as of lately, I have been feeling like homemaking just gets overwhelming, trying to balance all of the hats. Trying to balance all of the hats of homemaking is truly a full-time job. And there are times where I just feel like I may be slacking in one area or another naturally. And some days, depending on the month, like if I'm maybe more hormonal because of, you know, my cycle or whatever is going on with me, usually just my cycle makes me a little bit more hormonal and maybe even fall into a bit of depression. And I do get in these slumps where I feel that I am just overwhelmed and maybe a little overstimulated for sure on a daily basis. But I found that making little lists have been very helpful and just trying to bullet point what is actually important that day and really honestly narrow down the needs. My daughter is 10 months old and I cannot believe she's almost one, which is crazy. I am going to level and stack these cakes with that beautiful buttercream. I think the color turned out really good. And as it actually sets and sits for a while, it gets even more vibrant and beautiful. So I love that so much about this food coloring. It's so fun. And you guys will see it will look different in a little bit. That same frosting for a crumb coat as well. I made these cakes the day before and they are nice and fudgy, soft, beautiful chocolate cake. And it has a nice rich flavor. I even used coffee to really accentuate the chocolate flavor. If you don't know, coffee really helps bloom that chocolate and make all that beautiful chocolate flavor come out. It really enhances and lets the chocolate flavor shine in your dessert. So using coffee is always a good option. Anywho, yes, I find that making lists, little checklists, so I can feel accomplished throughout my days and not just get overwhelmed. Because some days, you guys, I get overwhelmed and there's so many things I want to do or need to do that maybe I just do nothing at all besides like the bare basics and take care of my kids. And I think that having some days like that is okay. You know, we all need those days. Is, you know, you want to be productive and get things done, but you don't want to hyper fixate on being productive and putting all your value into, oh my gosh, what can I get done? That makes me a good homemaker, you know, doing all of this stuff. I feel that, especially online, that can easily be the narrative. Like, how much can you get done? I am going to roll out my puff pastry. We did our crumb coat already, and I put that back in the freezer and let that set for a while. And now I'm going to move on to my rough puff pastry. We are making palmiers out of this rough puff pastry. And if you're wondering what is the difference between rough puff pastry, that is like a whole mouthful, okay? Rough puff pastry. I'm making with the rough puff pastry. I am actually making palmiers, which is a French cookie or a French pastry cookie. It's kind of like a croissant cookie, if you will, if you think about it. They are really delicious and they are so decadent. They do take a lot of time. They are a labor of love, but what's new around here? I love to put my time and energy into the people I love by serving them really good food and homemade food that I truly put my love and soul into. So here we go. If you're wondering what the difference is between rough puff pastry and just pastry, rough puff pastry is when you're doing little chunks of butter in the dough versus lamination, which is a process of laminating the butter and layering it inside of the pastry. You're making those layers of butter. You're still doing the same thing here, and that's why you guys are seeing me fold it. And we are going to put that back in the fridge because the whole thing when you work with pastry is you want to keep it really cold throughout the whole time of working with it. So you have to work fast and very efficient, very fast and efficient when it comes to working with any kind of pastry, because pastry is very temperature sensitive and you just want to work quickly. So we're going to fold that back up, and we are doing so many different folds. You will see we're going to keep coming back to this rough puff pastry and just keep dealing with it. I am going to take a quick little diaper break and nursing break because I take mini breaks throughout, this day, because of course I am a mom of 3 and the kids always come first. So I'm always putting down what I'm doing to go tend to them, and honestly just to play with them too, because I get sucked into their play so quickly. And I don't know how many times this day we played Candyland because they are just getting so into that game. They absolutely love it. We also have a crawler now, so she is everywhere all the time, which is a whole other thing, whole other challenge. I feel like when you have a baby, you go through all of these different stages, right? And right when you get used to one, it changes to something else and you have a new challenge to face. So we are currently working through that, but it's so cute to see her just moving all around the house, and her personality is just absolutely adorable. And truly, we are enjoying her so much. And I'm just trying to adjust to all the change that comes with having a baby around, because it's been a while since we had a baby before Miss Nora. And yeah, so it definitely comes with some changes and challenges that I do feel like it's really hard for you to balance everything. And let's be real, is balance even a thing? I hear people talking about balance in homemaking, and I feel like there's truly not much of a balance. I feel like it's get done what you can, and the rest might have to wait. Oh, a picture fell off the wall when I was hanging this cute little quilted garland. I wanted to make the little play schoolroom look a little bit more Valentine's Day. So we put up this repurposed quilted vintage garland that is a actual old quilt that's vintage that I bought from Bear and Basil on Instagram. Absolutely love her account. Check her out. She makes all of our quilted things as well as this bunting. And I was just sharing a few of the kids' little books for Valentine's Day because we have several that we absolutely love, and I was just showing you a few of those. We just made their area just a little bit more special. And now I'm going to share like a little thrift haul with you guys because I think I forgot to do that in my video 2 videos ago when we went thrifting together. So I got a few books for the kids. And this Green Eggs and Ham book is so old. And then I got the Late for School. I also got this beautiful picture frame, which was kind of pricey, $8.99, but it's vintage and it's beautiful. And then I got just like a simple basic one that has like a gold rim. And honestly, that's it. I really didn't walk away with too much. I haven't been doing a ton of thrifting because a girl is trying to save some money, and we just really don't need a lot of stuff. I like to keep my house pretty minimal. And I know you guys love the thrifting content, but honestly, like I don't need a lot. My home is fully furnished. So we don't do too much thrifting, but I like to thrift before I go and buy from a small shop, or a big box store is usually my go-to. But I am practicing a lot of discernment when it comes to shopping in general. This is the year we are really trying to save. And here I am back to the rough puff pastry with our pommiers. We are doing a letter fold. Is what that's called. And what we're doing when we're folding is just really truly creating those layers of butter that are going to have a really nice flaky texture. Absolutely wonderful. Kind of like a croissant, but not quite. And now I'm just showing you a few things that I got the kids for Valentine's Day. I went to Target and just grabbed these cute little felt play pretend candy and then a sandwich kit for my son. And then the other one is for my daughter, of course, the little candy. They love to play pretend, so I thought those would be perfect. I also got them these cute little Valentine's dogs because they love little plushies and they love to play pretend with those too. And then they've been asking for Kinder Joy, and I saw that they had them Valentine's theme. I got them the strawberry and cream favorite day little mix. Just something so simple and honestly very cheap to do, just so they receive something on Valentine's Day. And that's what I'm going to give them for Valentine's Day, and that's going to be their little love basket. Kept it very simple this year, very affordable, because like I said, the year of saving money is what we are trying to do. So I'm going to put that back up so they don't see it. And then now we are going to move on to our next layer of buttercream. My cake is very cold and I already have my crumb coat on that locked in all of the crumbs. And now we are just going to do a really smooth coat, or as smooth as we can, of buttercream. You can do this like 3 times if you want to when trying to do a cake, but I'm just filling in the holes and smoothing it out. But yeah, I find these days of homemaking, back to the conversation I was having with a friend, I really have to prioritize more so these days what I have energy for, as well as just doing what's important. Not doing all this extra stuff. Like I'm doing extra today because I'm prepping for a, party, but that's not an everyday occurrence here at all. I opened up a tea because more caffeine is needed. I am getting started on some dishes, and after dishes, I ended up dipping some cookies in royal icing that were leftover cookies from our sliced sugar cookies. I just cut out more cookies, punched out more heart cookies out of that same sugar cookie dough that was left over, and then I decided to make a really quick royal icing with that same color Merlot and dip them in. I ran out of powdered sugar, and so I didn't have any to make the flood and the little border around for like royal icing cookies, because typically you would do a border that's a little bit thicker and then water it down with. So I ended up not having enough powdered sugar to make 2 different kind of royal icings, one that is going to hold a border and the other one for flooding. And so I just ended up dipping them in the flood icing and just forgetting about the border, and they turned out really cute. They look messy here, but then when they dried, I'm showing you right now, when they dried, they looked really, really cute, and I absolutely love them, and they were really easy and quick to do. But the ideal thing is to, pipe them and do a border and then do the flooding, but they turned out really good. We are back to doing another fold on our rough puff pastry dough and making these cute little cookies that look like hearts. They are so adorable and very tasty and flaky. When I was talking to my friend and we were talking about homemaking, she, for preference, she works a 9 to 5, and she thinks that homemaking is always just so, rose tinted glasses. And so I was telling her my honest opinions, and that's kind of how that whole I don't love being a homemaker topic came up. And it's truly not that I don't love it. I actually adore being a homemaker so much, and I feel very grateful to be able to stay home with my children and honestly just have the luxury of time. I mean, my time is a lot less now that I have a little baby, because most of my day is spent nursing and feeding her and cuddling her, especially with her teething. But, when she gets older, my time will free up a little bit more again. And then I have more of the luxury of time, but I definitely have a lot more time on my hands to do the things that I love and nurture my hobbies, such as baking and a little bit of embroidery and being creative in other ways. And of course, I get to film videos for you guys and share all my little hobbies and my little grandma lifestyle. But, I am very grateful to be able to stay home with my kids. But that also doesn't take away the fact that sometimes we all struggle, okay? Laundry piles up. Some nights I'm just so tired from, being with the kids all day long and homeschooling that I just do not have it in me to cook dinner. And maybe I have a freezer meal, or maybe I don't. And maybe we need to order takeout. Well, that's like a rare occasion, but we usually save at least like 1 day a month to order out and, take that little break. But yeah, like being a homemaker is not always just lovely and roses, okay? It's not. It's not always chocolates and roses, okay? It is very difficult sometimes as well as challenging, but we are very grateful for the people that are able to stay home. I do feel like you make a lot of sacrifices, especially if you're living on a one income. I am adding some little piping to this cake. I, for the life of me, could not find my other piping tips that I wanted to use for this cake. So we are just using the one I can find. And I think this is like an 864 piping tip, but I couldn't find my other ones. My kids were playing with them at one point when we moved here, and I still haven't found them. So I guess I just need to purchase some more for my cakes. But we don't make cakes that often. But I want to have some more piping options, especially for these vintage cakes, because usually they're pretty detailed with all of the piping. I absolutely adore that. We are adding some maraschino cherries to this cake as well. And I love these maraschino cherries do not have any dyes in them, which is absolutely great. I feel like this was a really lucky find at our local grocery store, and they were absolutely delicious. They're pitted and they're just honestly great. And I think they added a really cute touch. And that red color is just so beautiful and dark to me. I absolutely love it. I felt like it was perfect for a Galentine's Day. And it turned out really good. So I put this cake back in the freezer, and now I am taking out dinner. We're going to have leftover chicken noodle soup from the night prior. Having these kind of meals on hand really helps me out on days where I'm doing a lot of baking or honestly just really tired. So I really like to have meals on hand. I am adding a little bit of water to make the soup not so thick and we get a little bit more broth. And I'm just going to heat this up on the stove because it's still cold straight out the fridge. And now I'm going to do some dishes, and I end up saving my extra buttercream, my chocolate buttercream, for something else. I don't know what we're going to use this for, but we'll find something, maybe do some cinnamon rolls or something like that. But I always have like frozen buttercream in my freezer from my cakes, and it's good in the freezer for a while. And I always find like, little baking endeavors that I can use it on. And now I'm just doing the dishes after nursing the baby and just kind of straightening up a little bit. So yes, like I was trying to explain to my friend, because she sees a lot of stay-at-home moms and homemakers online, and definitely was thinking it's a little bit more romanticized, I feel like, than it actually is in real life. There's overstimulation. It's the constant trying to keep a clean house, because I really like a nice and tidy space for my family to reside in. And for my own mental health, I think it's just really important to keep the house tidy. It just helps me in my mental state throughout the day to keep saying, okay, we are taking our rough puff pastry for our cookies, and these are going to be our Palame cookies, and we are doing another fold, but this time we're using sugar. Now this dough doesn't have any sugar in it, so this step is very important because you want it to have a nice little sweet tinge to it. It's not an oversweet cookie, but you want that caramelized sugar that happens in the oven. I really need to get a bigger cutting board. I just have 2 cutting boards together because, it's just not big enough for rolling out this dough. And I really want to get a bigger one. I have my eye on one right now from Amazon. So maybe one day we will get that cutting board. But for now, 2 together works fine. I am going to put that dough back in the fridge for a little bit before we end up baking it. And I am mixing up my protein powder. I have been really liking the Farmer's Protein by Ballerina Farm. It tastes absolutely delicious and has really good ingredients. So I have been loving that. A few of you were asking if I had a discount code. I unfortunately do not. I don't know. I did message them and no one responded back. So if I do get a discount code for you guys, I will let you know. But my honest opinion on the protein powder is I absolutely love it. I only tried the creamy chocolate. I have not tried the vanilla bean yet. I have that one. My kids absolutely adore it too, especially my daughter. My daughter absolutely loves the protein powder. She loves chocolate. She is my chocolate girly. She really enjoys the protein powder. or her little protein shake as well, especially with raw milk. It's so good. So, so good. I am wiping down my fridge and my kitchen for all the sticky fingerprints since we've been making frosting and all of the sweet things today. And then I'm going to roll out my dough again and do another fold. And this time we are going to crease it in the middle and then clean up the edges a little bit because you want to keep the edges pretty clean. After like the third fold, I really like to keep cleaning up the edges. And then I'm going to just fold it and have it meet in the middle and then fold it on top of each other and then put it back in the fridge for a little bit because again with pastry, it is so important to keep the dough cold. You want it to be as cold almost as possible when you put it in the oven. Because you don't want the butter just oozing out all over the place. You want your hard work of those flaky layers to be there and not just run all over the tray. I'm going to serve up some chicken noodle soup for the family. And my husband came down because he smelled it on the stove and he absolutely loves a good soup. So yeah, we had a little moment and it got a little, intimate. Had to turn that off. Had to edit most of that out. But I think it's so special to be married almost a decade and we are still in love so much. I feel like that is very special, especially nowadays. It seems like marriage is a lot more rare, unfortunately, amongst couples. And we'll talk about that in the future. But I feel very blessed to have a good partner and a very strong love for each other. And it seems like we love each other every year even more. So I'm very grateful for that. So we don't celebrate Valentine's Day on just one day. We celebrate it all year long, like honestly and truly. But, we pull out the stops. We're pulling out the stops for my cousin and this Galentine's Day party the next day. And this has been so fun to prepare. I am slicing these cookies as I've been yapping to you guys. Look at that red heart. It turned out really good. They're not perfectly round, but they don't have to be, honestly. I don't worry too much about that. But they bake up really, really nice. And the red gets even darker once they bake up. And I just think that it's such a fun, festive cookie. You can do really any kind of theme you want to do for any holiday or just any theme you want to do. I love that. It's very customizable, as you would say. But yes, when you hear other people's perspectives from different walks of life or a different lifestyle than you may be living, I feel like it really puts maybe what you're going through in perspective. Like, yes, I struggle as a homemaker, as I'm sure many of you do. You have your lower energy days or days that you're just not feeling really up to the challenge or just want to relax, or maybe you're just tired or you're fighting a little bit of seasonal depression or whatever it may be, whatever season of life you're in. Just know you are not alone in the struggle. If you're a full-time homemaker or a working 9-to-5 mom, we know that this job of being a mother is very time consuming and can be very emotionally taxing, as well as the mental load can just be heavy. I am cutting my cookies now, finally. All of this work for this very moment of we are now cutting our palmiers and they turned out really good. It was so satisfying to cut these after many, many hours of rolling and folding and putting back in the fridge. We did about like 4 different folds and we're finally at the point where we can cut our cookies and lay them out on the tray. I'm going to sprinkle them with a little extra sugar and then we are going to take them out the oven, making sure we kind of spread them apart because we want that heart shape. We want the little heart shape because they do puff up quite a bit. Like, look at those in the oven. They are gorgeous. Now we are going to flip them over so they can caramelize on the other side. And these palmiers are absolutely delicious and bring back such a time in my life as a child where my dad used to buy these all the time from Costco. And we recently bought some from Costco. And let me just tell you, the palmiers made at home were like 1,000 times better. My husband was like, whoa, like you really did that and made such good French pastry cookies. Like, he absolutely loved them and said, I can't even make chocolate chip anymore. Here's him stealing my other half. I ended up doubling the recipe for these palmiers. I had many more cookies to bake, and so this is not it, but I had to do a taste test, of course. I have made these before off camera, and it's been a while. And I'm really glad that I decided to make these, and everyone loved them for the Galentine's Day. They were delicious, had them with some coffee, and I think they're so cute because they're heart shaped and it's subtle. And like I said, there's nothing like those flaky pastry layers. I ended up wearing the same dress that I wore in this video the next day. Here's me cutting the cake, and it was absolutely delicious. Look at those layers of that rich chocolate buttercream. But yeah, going back to my question and bringing this video full circle, I know I'm like yapping throughout and giving you little thoughts here and there, as well as telling you what I'm doing, but I absolutely adore homemaking. And I think that talking to other people that may live a different life than you gives a lot of perspective. And I feel like sometimes we all need that good reminder that, yes, what we may be walking through and the season of life may be challenging, whether it's emotionally, physically, or whatever it may be. You are not alone, and it's going to be fine. It's just a season, and we're going to have hard, challenging times no matter what. And I just pray on it and have God see me through and keep encouraging me to keep going, because wow, some days as a stay-at-home mom can be very challenging. And I can't wait for bedtime. That's just sometimes honestly how it is. And that is okay. That doesn't make you a bad mom. It doesn't make you a bad homemaker. It just makes you human. We all have these thoughts. We all have our days that are just not as good as maybe other days. But overall, I would never trade being a homemaker for any other job. It is the best job in the world. Yes, it's challenging, but it is the most rewarding, fruitful job that I could ever do. So thank you guys so much for watching. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.